So do have some ability to get out of the chair, but they must stay in their chairs to play. Although it's okay if they're going off sideways, and you might see them dive for a ball here and there as well. So Jack Hunter Spivey serving first in the match. So you see Dan going for a really, really wide and short backhand backspin. But it just dropped onto the top of the net. Jack's cleaning the table, doesn't want any unnecessary dust on the ball. Dan prepares himself, and then Jack goes for the big shot, not fully warmed up yet. And what the players will do at this level, they'll calculate the probabilities, and sometimes they will be prepared to miss a few if they think they've got a reasonable chance of getting it on, to try to penetrate through the blocking of the opponent. So 2 points all, massive side spin, and then you could see Jack knew the return that he wanted, pushed his wheelchair under the table, and then smashed for a backhand winner wide of Dan's forehand. Side spin serves again. That one really well dealt with by Dan. So Dan's been playing since he was 10 years old. 22 now, lives in St Neots, plays at the St Neots club as well as internationally in training. Well, that's quite interesting. Harry's just asking for a little bit more of a clean serve there, making sure that he throws it up and the opponent can see the ball throughout the action. Karen Tong again, and the great Peter Charters, used to be chairman of selectors for Table Tennis England. And Dan looks positive there. Certainly not overawed by the occasion. So, now that was great, because what you see there is Jack saw what was coming and then shifted his chair diagonally to the right and got in close to the table so that Dan couldn't put it too short for him. So good anticipation from Jack, very experienced player. You see over onto one wheel, but that was a top edge. You couldn't quite bring it back into the sideline. Nothing in it here. Good backhand from Jack. Great consistency from Dan. So Dan was greatly heartened yesterday to get 2 games off Jack. So in the world rankings, Dan's at 45 and Jack's at 7. But Dan gets to play in the under-23 event, which Jack's just too old for.
Good. 7, 6.
And Dan 9 in the world in that class, under-23 level. One more serve to come from Jack. See that side spin, this great emphasis on that side spin serve. And then the left-handed forehand smash, really, more than topspin across court. Great shot. He knows he's done well there.
6, 9.
And something that Jack was saying when I was talking to him is one thing we're not used to, he says, in playing in front of the big crowds at home, away. And in some of the internationals, they do get big crowds, and it's great for him that you get a decent crowd at home to watch these players.
6.
So, showcasing what Paralympic table tennis is all about. Jack went to the Paralympics in Rio 2016. Oh, he's gone for the big one. Couldn't quite make it with the height. So Jack was in all sorts of trouble wide of the forehand, and that's what they'll sometimes do, is just sky the ball. That one didn't get over the net. But I think at match point against Dan last time they played, he won it with a shot like that Dan was completely unable to reach in time from his chair. So they do bomb around the court. Again, Jack pushing diagonally to get the ball short to his backhand when it's wide. So Dan saves a game point. 8-10, first to 11 wins the game. Best of 5 games to win the match. This is the final of the Para Class 3 to 5. So both players here with cerebral palsy from birth. And some of the other players in the same category might be, for instance, paraplegic with a reasonable range of movement in the upper half of the spine, but less or none below a certain point of the spine. And they classify 11 classifications in these. Jack, very, very experienced now at this level, and Dan Bullen. Some nice rallies. You see that Jack's got really consistent backhand topspin and forehand flat hit. That's the wide one that Jack couldn't quite pull back, and then the big side spins. Beautiful flick that from Jack, and then changed angles. So very, very skilled players, both full-time, doing some studies as well, but a lot of the players get together at the National Paralympic Table Tennis Centre in Sheffield, and in the Don Valley. And they certainly won't be overawed by this final. Jack's looking so calm. That's a lovely one. And you can hear the microphone under the table picks up. Sorry, Jack, says Dan. Very sporting, even though they're very, very tough competitors. And they put a lot of physical work into the areas that they can to support the technical development that they want to get. See the bats there, maximum grip, so they make the ball bend in the air.
Good, come on.
Oh, there's good combination from Jack there. One forehand, a couple of nice backhands across court. Just getting enough topspin to make the ball kick forwards off the table. Keep Dan away.
3-1.
You can see the tables are made with the legs underneath, so that the wheelchair can slide underneath the table as far as they need to win a point. It's great to see that the manufacturers are creating the conditions for them to play to their best ability without any unnecessary inhibition. So Jack 1 game up. Dan 4-1 up in the second. Nice backhand to backhand exchange. You can see that Jack got really wide of Dan's backhand at the end of the rally. International experience paying off. See there, into the backhand and then really wide. You see I get it right in the corner. Good ball, I think Jack was murmuring to himself. Terrific. So other players in the championship, there are 6 qualifiers to here at the Nottingham David Ross Sports Village. So as well as Dan and Jack in the semi-finals, it was Jack that put out Susan Gilroy.
Good.
And Dan Bullen that put out Megan Shackleton. Sue's much more experienced player, and Megan on the way up, age 20. But also Romain Simon also played. He's 30 years of age, but has only been playing 3 years. He decided to pick up this form of the sport, and he's improved so fast, playing at Fusion Table Tennis Centre, and then nurturing him down there and doing a fantastic job. And after only 3 years, here he is at the National Championships in the top 6. And also a shout out to Lee York, who's also been playing in this. Lee York has is a class 3, so that's more severely affected physically, and he's 31 years old from Ossett, but he came 3rd in his group, so couldn't qualify for the semi-finals. So the big stars. Jack serving at 6-5. He's caught Dan back up again, and that's a beautiful wide shot. It's left it open. Great 1-2. Dan knows he's been outwitted and outplayed there. Beautifully executed by Jack. Great ideas, great execution, and that's a hallmark of Jack's game. You see they played it really wide. Dan had to really loosen the grip to get his bat onto it, but knew he couldn't reach the follow-up. So Dan having to puzzle out. And I think Mark Mitchell, the great Mark Mitchell, England's senior international, coached the British paraplegic wheelchair team for many years. Been to the Sydney Paralympics with the players, and boy, he's given some intense advice to Dan now to give him a chance to get back into gear, give him confidence that he can execute the game plan that's necessary, which will no doubt be a challenge for the young man. So, well done, Mark. Let's see if you can have an influence on proceedings. And coaching is, as Don will also tell you, Don Parker, and Don was my coach when I was a junior. So thanks to him. And it's a very, it's a decision-making game, coaching, and risky because you're always working with the relationship. Sometimes you need to be quite hard on the players. Other times you've just got to support and nurture, and judging how to be as a coach to make the impact you want to happen on the table. It's a great skill in itself. Great backhands from Dan. So Jack unable to get the angles there because of the pressure that Dan put on. So well done there. Backspin serve from Jack.
7, 8.
Good recovery from Dan. Well done, Mark Mitchell, on a successful timeout there. Dan really needs this game. You don't want to go 2-0 down against someone that's number 7 in the world.
9, 7.
6 times national champion, Jack. So Dan, 2 serves. If he wins them both, he takes the game. Yes,
10,
game point to Dan Bullen. Taking the point directly from the serve. So 3 chances now. Oh, and a great forehand from Jack. Good block from Dan. It just hit the edge of the table there. Thick edge on the end of the table. 1 game all. Dan squares it. President of the Table Tennis England in the background, Jill Parker. Enjoying the proceedings. And Mark there. Got to concentrate on this. And you can see there's the intensity but the humour. So Dan's laughing at the way that Mark is providing the information on the clipboard. He's just clearly trying to keep him alert and fast. But big nods from Dan. He's appreciating what's coming at him, all that experience. The disappointment there for Jack and for both players at times. Backspin serve, really wide. Move your chair and play it across. Beautiful from Jack. Nice backhand blocking control from Dan. And then that one, Jack was actually the first to acknowledge that very last shot hit the table. Very sporting. That gave Dan 11 points in the game. So 1 game all, everything to play for. So Dan will see how up and coming he really is. Doesn't seem at all unnerved by the situation. Great to see. There's the high ball. Well done, Jack. So he played that with side spin and backspin, lobbed it in the air, and he's got to get it within 2-3 inches of the net on the other side, and he made it. It's a wonderful, wonderful shot from Jack. Again, playing wide of Dan's forehand. What he's trying to do here is encourage Dan to reset his chair further across the forehand, and I think Dan actually has had to do that. But now, of course, that leaves more of a hole wide of the backhand. We'll see if, yep, Jack's... There you go, move your chair. I can hear from the coaching corner. So Jack now really using the angles to give Dan some very, very big decisions to make about where he places his chair. And then Dan going to heavy backspin and successfully. That one popped up to the forehand. And Jack's done that thousands and thousands of times. Put that one away. That's great. See the width he got on it as well. Dan knows that the problem wasn't that he couldn't get to it, but he let him do it in the first place. So both of these players playing with modern, fast topspin rubbers. Got a lot of topspin with the ball, a lot of backspin with the ball as well, but primarily attacking players. Some players will tend to use a low friction rubber like long pimples or what we call anti-loop, which is smooth but very low friction like ice or glass. And in those circumstances they can't spin it, but it will reverse the spin that the other player puts on it. And that's what we saw with Mari Baldwin earlier, who's through to the final of the women's singles against Tintin Ho later on, 4 o'clock. But this, the para class 3 to 5 final. 2 players born with cerebral palsy, but very, very able, committed,
Good. Clever.
bright and optimistic. Very good, he says, clever. And they make absolutely everything of themselves. Some wonderful, wonderful stories about lives being successful and changing and overcoming obstacles in the sport. And table tennis is a wonderful sport to give people an opportunity.
4, 6.
Pretty much everyone can play to any age. In the World Veterans Championships, they've got an over 90s category now. So it really is a game for everybody. Good serve there from Dan, and then pressuring Jack's backhand.
5, 6.
And Dan doesn't look comfortable now. Dan's making him work and think harder than before. 5-6, Dan. I think mentally Dan's been excellent. Good top spin from on the forehand from Jack. Good blocking again from Dan. Puff of the cheeks from Jack. He's not getting the penetration that he was earlier. Dan's starting to read where things are going, and he's getting in position. So after the conundrum about the angles and where Dan was going to sight his chair to get to the wide balls, of course, you move your chair, your opponent knows that. Backspin. Ooh.
6, 7.
And there's a little bit of his own side spin came back there, and it just made the ball bounce slightly differently, and it just caught Jack just kind of on the palm of the hand where he holds the bat. So Dan a point up at 7-6. That's a great backhand from Jack, but you can see that Dan's now ready for it and used to it.
7, 0.
Apology from Jack, just caught the top of the net. Quick reset in the chair there. His legs coming just a little bit loose there. Nice rally.
8, 7.
Dan's blocking and control around the court. Sublime at the moment. Young Mr. Dennison in the corner supporting Jack from Fusion.
Come on.
8,
Come on.
0.
And Jack a Cheshire man.
Come on.
9,
Come
8.
on.
The backspin was too high. Dan knew it. Smile of resignation on his face for that one. Reset, prepare for the next one. But with 3 points on the trot, I think now.
These two.
Yeah, Dan's staying positive. These two, he's saving match point. And Jack also mumbling away. So a lot of self-talk going on. Dan knows that he can't make an error, and yet he's got to play positively. Going for backspin, going for a bit of width wide of the forehand. Left and right hander here. And again, Jack puts in the side spin backhand, anticipates the ball coming wide of the forehand because of the strength of the side spin, follows up with a forehand smash to win. Goes off to see the Dennisons and the Great Fusion Table Tennis Centre in the southeast of London. And Dan over to Mark. And they're staying positive and relaxed. And both of the players have got a lot to say to the coaches as well as the other way around. Some highlights from this game. Jack ended up winning, I think, with that shot. But Jack really does have a beautiful forehand smash. See Dan going for the backspin tactics. And there's the side spin. A little bit of top spin on it as well, as he came across the ball just got the ball up enough and positioned his chair to play wide across court to take the game, and 2-1. So best of 5, Jack 1 game away. Dan has to win this game to stay in the match and to have a chance of being English national senior champion
Bullen to serve.
and take the
Come on, let's go.
title away from 6 times champion Jack Hunter Spivey.
Clever, come on.
Love 1.
Okay, Jack talking loud enough to try and get into Dan's brain now. So a lot of positivity.
Net. Love 1.
Nice backhand across court from Jack, but wonderful, wonderful forehand block wide across court. Cut down Jack's recovery time with it. So 1 point all, that's great. Dan just wants to get settled. See their focus and concentration, but you can just see how much they love the sport.
Come on, Jack.
So a lot more verbal from Jack, increasing the decibels a little bit. Oh, and then Jack that time, instead of going across court, I think he saw that Dan had it covered with the backhand, tried to go down the line in the forehand at the last minute instead, but couldn't quite keep the ball down. The line of the table, of course, that was the good one, and then down the line, just off the end, the line of the table, of course, being shorter than the diagonal and therefore harder to make the ball at any given speed. So maybe just needed to have slowed it down a little bit when he went down the line.
Net.
Nice short serve from Dan, just clipped the net, so he'll have to take it again. Fast serve from Dan,
3.
and then lucky net on the way back from Jack. Just stops Dan getting away. That would have been 4-1 to Dan had that not happened. Again, what a cracking forehand. There's a shot that not many people in the world have mastered to that level. And of course, within a class, you do have a range of abilities. So they will work hard to see what it is that they can do, what function they've got, what they can use to their advantage. And that was a great smash from Dan. Forehand, usually not as powerful as Jack on the forehand smash, but that time he's hitting it in a way that it pretty much getting into the neck of Jack, who smiles. The table tennis ball might sting a tiny bit, but it's not going to do any damage. So the players will aim for each other physically if they can hit your body. And Dan's done it again. Right into the body, making the ball bounce up in towards the face. In boxing terms, that's a great headshot. What a wonderful rally that was. And you just got him there, mixed up between backhand and forehand. Good point for Dan Bullen. So Dan a point up. Ooh.
4-6.
Rare error from Jack on the return of serve. I thought he had Dan's serve sorted out. Reading the spin. But they're under a lot of pressure to keep it tight. So, well, that was a good recovery from Jack. Having to go in wide of the forehand, very, very short, and then recover for a long backhand. Great combination. So playing it wide, had to come in, move the chair, and they're moving the chair and also the angle of the chair to get the shot they want. And that's the best shot of the match. Dan Bullen, big backhand across court from Jack, and then fantastic block or counter hit down the line from Dan. Jack wasn't going to get back to that one. So, Dan a chance of getting back at 2-all. Well, I was saying that Jack's forehand was more powerful, but look at what Dan's doing now. Raising his game, certainly tuned into the conditions. He's up for this match. He would love to get a national title and take one away from Jack. Again, a solid forehand attack. Nods from the crowd. Appreciating the skills of these players, the way they play the combinations. That one hit the net, it's come high. Dan dealt with the first one. Oh, That's very, very difficult to do. Congratulations, Dan. That was a really, really difficult one. Ball bouncing up with topspin. He managed to time the forehand smash twice. Short balls again, wide balls. Jack going long, but too long. You see the ball stop there because of the backspin. Stopped on the floor. Just gives you an indication of the spin on the ball. Game point to Dan. Certainly stretching there. That's going to happen. Well, there's a shot of a shot. Dan regroups mentally. Playing into the backhand and then switch. And then Jack saw it, but not in time. It just took the sting out of his forehand, just drops onto the top of the net, and that gives the 4th game to Dan Bullen, and it means we go to a 5th and final game. So back to the clipboard, Dan. So key messages. I'm sure that Mark is just trying to keep him focused, not letting him drift away from what he has to do. When these tactics are difficult to execute, it's very easy to be soft on yourself and just do what you're good at rather than what you have to do against a particular opponent. So keeping that focus and that courage is what Mark's trying to ensure for Dan. He'll be saying, we just need another 5 strong minutes and you might, just might, be national champion for the first time. That's a lovely combination from Dan, wasn't it? So 5th and final game, Jack's out first. The 2 warriors of the sport. You've got to understand really that, I mean, Dan started when he was 10 and he said he had virtually no hand-eye coordination. He was really struggling with the cerebral palsy aspect of his disability. And he said it took him most part of a year before he could hit a moving ball coming at him. So he was just doing the basics of ball control, just holding the bat, holding the ball on the bat, being able to move while the ball's still resting on the bat, and then gradually bounce the ball up and down to yourself, and then happy to work and work, and then within a year he was able to overcome that disability and to play a basic rally of table tennis, actually hit the ball coming over, and you can just see how far he's come. So fantastic credit to Dan Bullen. And all these players have got huge stories of overcoming obstacles. Great inspiration to us all. But for now, they're not interested in that. They're interested in what they can do, what they must do, and the titles that they want. They're playing for glory now. The hard work's done. They've got to execute under pressure at the highest level. Jack's got a decent chance of getting to the next Paralympics, and he wants to medal. Dan's got the same ambition, but I think he might have to wait till 2024 for Paris for his chance to play in a full Paralympics. 2 games all, 2 points all. Dan's taken a timeout. I don't think Jack's taken his. He's got that on board if he wants it.
Come on!
And there again, you see when he comes across the ball, Jack's not getting the same backspin intentionally, and then Dan's not quite reading the fact that the backspin is lost, and he's popping the ball up too high over the net. Good work from Jack. That's a beautiful wide backhand. He almost had to let the bat slide out of his hand slightly to get the extra reach, and then pull the wrist down quickly on the side of the ball to make it curve away from Dan. In the background there, you've got Adam and Sam Wilson. Sam runner-up in the under-21s. Adam is coach. And Sam went out to Tom Jarvis, who just went out to Paul Drinkle. 4 games to 1 earlier. So the men's final will be once again between Liam Pitchford and Paul Drinkle. He played marvellously to come back against Tom Jarvis just in the last match. After this one will be the women's doubles. I'll be accompanied by Matt Stanforth. And the players moving now because it's the final game, and at 5 points halfway through the match, they change ends to even up all the advantages and disadvantages of the environment.
5-3.
So Dan back at the stand end again. But Jack with a small advantage. Nice wide play from Dan.
5-4.
Jack knew where he had to aim it. He played that ball just a little bit too easily into Dan's forehand. Dan made a good job of playing wide. Jack knows where he's got to aim. So Jack, Jack doing a great job of going long with backspin, but it didn't come off because Dan spun it up and it landed right on the back edge of the table. Unplayable. Apology from Dan, but they all count and both players get them. And then you've got to refocus and win the next point, whether you've won or lost the edge. And sometimes the players will just go over on their side. And 99 times out of 100, just push themselves back up again, dust themselves down, get on with it. Jack just wiping the table, getting any dust off. You see just a little bit of dust on Dan's red side of Dan's bat. Every now and again they'll just clean it off to make sure they've got a good contact with the ball. Bit of banter between the players. Great sports, both of them. Well, here we come, the climax of the Para 3-5 final in this Mark Bates Limited National Championships. Dan's not going to get that. World class from Jack comes a Spivey. Backhand wide of Dan's forehand. He was stretched, but then the next one wasn't quite wide enough. Took advantage of the opportunity to play a good angle.
Come on!
6,
Fight
Massive
now.
come on. Fight now, says Jack. 2 points up, 8-6. So those 2 points there, critical on the serve. Dan's got to do the same again to stay in the match, really. 2 points on his serve is what he needs. He got another lucky one. This is keeping Dan in it. Have to say that Jack's had the edge in this fifth game, but a couple of lucky points have just kept Dan there. 1 point behind now, one serve to come. Can he level it at 8-all? Good movement of the chair by Dan, but unbelievable recoveries by Jack. Superb blocking. Dan Bullen class blocking from Jack. You see there, Dan working the chair intentionally. That's not just for balance, that's to get into position. The ball's come up there for Jack. And that time, the ball hits the top of the net and just goes off the end of the table for Dan. So he didn't get the luck that time. And that's 3 match points. The presentation of the championships in the Paris will be immediately after the matches, before the next one goes on. This is for the national title. And there we have 7 now times champion Jack Hunter Spivey. Great job, coach. Well played, Denison family and Fusion Table Tennis Club. Jack is 7th time national champion. Must be very, very proud of that. Heading towards the Paralympics. And there's the support. Congratulations from Mark. Pleased for him. Commiserations to Dan. Shakes hands with the opposing coach. They played well. Another handshake from Dan. Wonderful sport. Great that they can play in the main championships these days. Great exponents. And for the ability that they have and the functionality they have, just as good players as any of those that you'll see standing. And after the women's doubles, then we'll see the Para class 7 to 10, which is the standing class. And so we look forward to seeing Ross Wilson play Kim Daybell, both very, very experienced international players, international medalists. Don't miss that. That's coming up after the next final, which will be the women's doubles, where I'll be accompanied by Matt Stanforth of the Table Tennis England Performance Program Manager. And here's how Jack did it. Some lovely, lovely rallies. Look at the fluency of those backhands. So, Mayor of Nottingham and Priya from Table Tennis England board sitting together and enjoying this. Look at the effort they're putting in there. That was one of the best rallies that Jack made. He knew he was out. He knew he was stretched. But managing to get the hard backhands and forehands across court wide.